He wants to jump
1,000 cars. Sir, you have 1,000 cars.
I don't think I'd attempt to try this stunt.
Or we owe this horsepower to Uncle Sam.
Too many cars.
car. You know, roses would be...
Like I put my beer belly on it.
If you can't immediately tell somebody how many cars you have.
You'll really give those uppity yuppies something to think about.
Stay on the bar. Don't go off the bar with your Bronco.
1980 Volvo horns. What's right? I want to have a man's coolant.
And he's like, oh, I thought it'd be small. It's for a small car. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still an automatic transmission. They're never going to be light.
It's definitely going to have to crash.
Starting off with Brad buying another car.
That's the West.
Internet. You know, is this a Nigerian oil print?
I also wish you drove a Tan Camry.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's a
horrible,
very
horrible podcast content.
Very
Talking about a picture.
inside joke.
Welcome to Auto Off Topic. Hey, Brad. How are you?
Andrew, I am wonderful.
Cool.
You are no longer here in my house, so we're not doing this together anymore. That was a one-shot deal there.
Yeah. Nope. Podcast is over. Done.
Podcast over.
Canceled.
Actually, I think that we should put out there a couple of things. Programming note, per se. Number one, apologies for any delays there have been in episodes. We both had some things going on in personal lives that got in the way for a bit. Schedules are now back to normal, and we'll be doing some more consistent content again. Now, speaking of schedules, that's part of our consistent content. I think we just had a pretty productive discussion about this off air, Andrew. Kind of give you guys an update. The plan is going to be moving forward for us to record no longer midweek, but Sunday nights, and no longer release on Fridays, but Tuesdays. The time change has been difficult for us. I'm sure everybody that listens has noticed that sometimes it's inconsistent with our Friday releases. Sometimes it's Saturday, sometimes it's not at all, because it's difficult, because especially in the summer months, we're 3 hours apart because Arizona doesn't want to do daylight savings time, which I applaud. But Massachusetts does want to do daylight savings time, which I don't applaud. So in the summertime, we are 3 hours apart. So by the time I get home from work midweek and I'm ready to record, it's already 9 o'clock Eastern time, and Andrew is ready to go to bed for the workday tomorrow. So I think that by switching to Sundays, we'll be able to give you a more consistent episodes, a more consistent schedule of episodes each week, and we'll have more stuff for you guys, and stuff that we've been working on and promising forever is happening. By the time you hear this, there will have been a interesting Auto Off Topic drive event, I think, that Andrew has been planning on the East Coast, which is through our other thing that we want to talk to you guys about, is our Discord.
Oh, Discord's popping off.
Discord is fun. I like it. I don't like the word popping off, but I do like the Discord. So that's pretty good. It's a neat little chat app. We talked about it before. So if you want to join, hit one of us up on social media anywhere. So either my personal Instagram at TSISS350, Andrew's personal Instagram at Raced in Anger, or the podcast Instagram, which is Auto Off Topic. So hit us up there. We'll give you access to the Discord. Each week we seem to have more and more members joining and having pretty good discussions. I think the discussions today were actually mostly not automotive related, but that happens. Sometimes we don't talk about car stuff all day. Today there was a bunch of music things being discussed. So always
Men created Discord just so they could have conversations with each other.
Yeah, probably. Whatever, I like it. It started as a video game thing and it turned into kind of a general chat thing, right? So
a podcast is just an excuse for us to have a phone call.
This is the Auto Topic party line we're talking about now, but yeah, it really is. Honestly, it's an excuse for us to have a phone call, and it's also an excuse for us to just talk about what we've been doing, and gives us honestly a reason to, not a reason to do what we do because we do it anyway, but it gives us, an outlet to share and build a community, and that's what we're really trying to do, is build a community of people that think like us and do stuff like us and want to have the same kind of events we want to go to, and just kind of share knowledge and content and just have a good time with junk old cars and good friends. So come as a listener, leave as a friend, right?
Yep.
to really get sappy and finished. But that's the programming note. That's what's happening here in the Auto Off Topic land. So you will be hearing a more consistent episode now. This summer was an anomaly, hopefully, because I know I can't handle the summer again. Andrew, I'm sure you can't either. So hopefully moving forward, summers will be a lot smoother and we'll be able to fix this. So we'll be good. But thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening. And thanks for engaging with us on our Discord if you already do, and engaging with us on the social media apps. So we appreciate all of you. We would do it even if you weren't here, because Andrew and I just want to talk about cars, but we do certainly appreciate you listening, and maybe we actually wouldn't do it without you, but yes, we would.
You want to talk about my drive home?
I do. You had a pretty epic drive home, actually. So we did chat briefly. You did drive out here to Phoenix, Arizona in your 2018 or 19?
That's a 19. All-track.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Your 2019 Volkswagen Golf all-track station wagon.
Update.
So
Check engine light came on today when I left the house.
at home.
Yep.
There's a problem then.
It is definitely a problem.
It's
There's
gotta be.
something
It can't
wrong
be.
with the engine.
Yeah, it can't be gas. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I talked about it coming on a while ago, the podcast, and they told me it was like bad gas. And this was real early on. I think the car had like 5,000 or 6,000 miles on it. And then it did
Yeah, it
it
was pretty new.
again at like 12,000 miles. But there was like some chipmunks living under there, and I was like, yeah, maybe it was that. But that I cleaned all that out. And I don't know, they weren't there the first time, so. And it didn't do it for a long time. And then after I drove it 4,000 miles out to you, like towards the last 2 weeks we were there, it was doing it like almost every day. And I'd
Yeah,
reset
very
on a
strange. And it
cold
was also
start.
being a very long cold start too, like cranked for a while.
No. It'd fire right up.
Or idled rough. That's what it was.
It's idle rough.
Something weird happened on cold start. Yeah. I remember
But then like the last couple of days, it doesn't idle rough. It just comes on after a few minutes. But I noticed if I start it up and just drive away, it doesn't come on.
So if you abuse the car,
It's
there's no
something,
problems. If you let it warm up, there's a problem.
in my head, it's something to do with the cold start logic, because these new cars, they want to get the catalytic converters hot and up to temp as fast as possible, because that's what lowers emissions. And
Sure.
And it's probably not dumping enough fuel in or something. Because the consensus from looking around the internet is it's either a bad coil, a bad plug, or a bad injector.
Which all three things make sense, but also they don't, because why is it so intermittent?
And the car had like 26,000 miles on it when it really started doing it. Now I'm at
That's
30
strange.
after the drive home, and it's done it like 10 times the last 2 weeks. So
So it sounds like you might need to book a trip into the dealership, because
I already did. It's going on Friday.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. People are like, why don't you just do these things? I'm like, no, because under warranty, I'm not touching anything. I'm going to throw the car at the dealer.
Yourself?
And
Yeah.
they either fix it
Eh.
or it's a lemon, and I don't have it anymore.
Right. Which would be annoying, but also like
It'd be very annoying because I don't know how I
excuse
would
to buy a new car.
Yeah, but I don't know how I would replace it. So
Well, I can give you all kinds of advice on replacing your reliable daily driver if you want.
yeah, you sure can.
So I would highly recommend that you purchase a non-running 1981 Toyota Cressida,
Sure.
or the yes, or 93 Eclipse, which I have an update on as well for later. But
So
yeah,
it's weird
it's,
because other than that, even when the light's on, the car runs fine. And so it would come on, I just reset it, and then we drive, 400 or 500 miles a day, and it still got 32 miles per gallon. And climbed all the elevation, didn't stumble, nothing. So I don't know. It's really weird.
you did a lot of elevation too, because you guys went across Colorado, which required like 12,000 feet, right?
Yeah, so let me start. We left Phoenix. We went up to Prescott to visit some family up there. And then we left from Prescott and drove up to Moab, Utah, which I had never been. None of us had ever been. And man, that place is cool.
Super gorgeous.
Yeah, it's super pretty. It's next to Arches National Park. That's where we wanted to go, but it's also a 4-wheel drive mecca.
Yes.
I want to go back with a 4x4, one of my own. But like, you know, we talk junk about Jeeps a lot because Jeep people can be kind of annoying, especially when they have mall crawlers. But when you have one that's actually set up for going off-road, it's pretty impressive.
I think we've had this conversation before.
Probably.
Because I once got a ride in a Rubicon with the detachable sway bars and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was ridiculously impressed with how capable it was climbing through like a rock garden in a trail. It was pretty mind-blowing, actually. So, yeah, I appreciate a stock or well set up Jeep. I just, like you said, we make fun of the RGB headlight crowd that ruins Jeeps for the rest of us.
Yeah. So I was like, man, we're only there for the day, or we stayed a night, like 2 nights. So we had a day. And I was like, man, we got to do something. I got to like figure out a way to go off road because I'll be real remiss if we don't go off road. And Marco really likes Jeeps. He's like really into so these are off-road beagles, off-road vehicles. It's not, when he says it, they sound like he's saying off-road beagles. It's really funny. And when we told him we were going in a Jeep, he was like super amped. So I found this.
You failed as a father.
Whatever. He just wants to go off-road. He just likes trucks. It's a 2-year-old.
Yeah, no question. I'm just being it.
Then he was asking on the way home, like, he wants to go for a ride in Dad truck. So, anyway,
I take him off road somewhere now.
Yeah, I'm looking like just doing quick Google searches, like trying to find like a couple of them have like age limits. This company I found didn't have an age limit, had they advertised the shortest tour available at like an hour and a half. I was like, that's good for a 2-year-old. So I booked it. It's Portal Off-Road Tours, and I'll plug them because the guy was really cool. And he calls me. He's like, that tour's like, we can do a ride along, or you can follow in your own Jeep. Do you have a Jeep with you? I'm like, no, we just want to ride along. He's like, all right, that's cool. He's like, well, we can do something a little different then. If I'm not showing you how to drive your Jeep, he's like, I'll take you over some obstacles. We'll go see some nice views. I was like, all right, that sounds great. And I was like, 2-year-old.
I'll take you where you can't be heard screaming.
So like, I'm like, yeah, a 2-year-old is okay with the car seat. He's like, oh yeah, it's a brand new Jeep, so it had all the latch system in it. So
very cool.
He's calling me on the phone the night before. Then when he shows up the next morning, it's this bright orange Jeep. It's got blue bead lockers on it. It's all lifted.
So you showed up at your hotel?
Yeah. The town is
Uber for off road.
The town is super small. They were like, we'll pick you up within 10 miles of the place, and it's literally like the town is like 5 miles wide. It's so small.
Interesting.
Only 5,000 people. It's tiny.
12,000 tourists.
Yeah. So yeah, I picked us up, put the car seat in, and it's this like brand new 2021 Jeep. Well, they had to buy it used because they couldn't find brand new ones. He was telling me it's a Rubicon. He said it had like $100,000 in suspension on it, which I kind of believe because it had like remote reservoir shocks, the custom 4 links. Maybe not custom.
So it wasn't a stock Jeep.
Oh no.
Interesting.
40-inch tires on it. They're running like 10 psi. It's geared like 511s or something in it, like super low. And it's like a 4-to-1 transfer case. He said in first gear it does like 3 miles an hour.
Amazing.
Yeah. Automatic, but makes sense. So then it's crazy because you just literally leave the town. We're like 10 minutes from the hotel. You drive up this road. It's like through a neighborhood. Then all of a sudden you're up on the ridge. It's Bureau Land Management land. You know, they pay the fee. So you just basically, you know, like wave the guy like, hey, this is the guy in a little toll booth. We make the turn. Then we went on Hell's Revenge, which is a known trail there. It's literally
sounds like a difficult one.
It's like a roller coaster, like to get in there over these rocks. And you can see it's all black from the tires. And he's like, yeah, they call it slick rock because it looks like it's slick, but it's really a misnomer because it's sandstone. He's like, once you get out, when we get out the top, you run your shoes on it, it's really sticky. That's what allows the Jeeps to do some of the crazy things you see them do, because the rocks are actually really grippy. I mean, I don't know what I was going to expect. Like, it was just kind of crazy. All of a sudden, we were like up on a knife edge in a Jeep. Like, you literally look down, it's just straight down on either side of the Jeep. Like, it's wide enough for the Jeep. It's kind of crazy.
Slightly sketchy. Yeah.
It's super sketchy, but also I was like, you know what? People do this all the time. This guy does it like every day. Sure. And like, you don't hear about like really bad. I mean, there are really bad accidents.
At least if we die as a family.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But like, there are bad accidents, but like, it's not that common. So we're not the first.
It's probably not a professional either.
No,
it's probably not a professional that gets in an accident. It's probably some amateur who's out there in his, rented stock Wrangler and does something dumb and falls off the edge. And even the guide is like, no, there's some obstacles we're not allowed to do with people. We don't do them. But he did some crazy ones. Like there's one that's like blast off. You're pointing straight up in the air. Almost, it feels like going straight up, like looking at the sky. It's crazy. You feel you're going to fall backwards. Yeah. And then we were going down and he's like, all right, we're going to go over one that's going to he's showing me the gauge. It's got the new Wranglers have the inclinometer gauge. Yep. And he's like, the factory one goes to 35, but we actually max it. It's more like 40. Like, yeah. 40, so like, that's steep. Yeah, like nose, it felt like you were vertical. Like the seatbelts were holding you from falling forward and hitting the dash. Wow. Marco loved it. He was laughing. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. That was great. Then there's like a little dune section. He was kind of like going through the little, there's like a little S-curve through like dunes, and that was super fun. It was really cool. And it was only like, threw the guy a tip, but like the base price for three people, the whole Jeep, $150. Like not per person. That doesn't sound the whole thing. Too bad. Yeah. No, I thought it was worth it. Bad. Yeah. To do something you couldn't do at home. It's almost like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Your truck's not even set up to do anything like that anyway, even if you could have trails like that at home. Like, so it's really neat to be able to use somebody's very expensive truck that you don't even know, just go out there and do that. Like, yeah, that's pretty cool setup. So I have to ask, compared to what we did, because you rode in the first time, which you should probably talk about as well before you left, in a side-by-side. No, you can't. In fact, I even asked him about side-by-sides. I said I went for a ride one. He's like, no. He's like, we can't. He's like, you can't do what we're going to do in a side-by-side. I was like, okay. And yeah, I believe him, because I was watching, they had other side-by-sides out there. They could go up some of the trails, but they weren't doing the vertical stuff that we were doing because they just flip over. They had enough weight, probably. Yeah. Keep themselves down. Grip. Interesting. Like they would take we went up some, we went down some like really aggressive part, and then there was another route, and there was like just people in side-by-sides. That's the other thing. So you could rent these side-by-sides, however much they cost, I have no idea. But then you're in like a conga line of other people that rented them, and you're just driving around, driving yourself. I don't know. That just seemed kind of lame to me, and I was just like, it just seems easier. Well, I recently looked into renting a side-by-side because a friend of the podcast is actually competing in the Rebel Rally. Yes, and Liz and Jordan
Mercedes.
No, she is too, though.
Mercedes is too, but our other friend.
Yeah, they both are. Yeah, so we have two friends in the Rebel Rally this year. Actually, three, because Cooper Auto Works is driving Liz's truck. Driving with Liz, I should say. Yeah. So, anyway, I looked into renting a side-by-side because Jordan wanted to come out to the finish, which is at Glamis. And I don't know if it's a similar price point, but in Glamis, I mean, you rent the side-by-side, and it's hundreds of dollars per hour. Like a ridiculous amount of money that it makes it not worth it. Like to have it for a day would cost $1,000. Yeah. So just definitely not something I want to do. So this is the other problem. Yeah, you're out there. You got to drive myself around.
if it was hot, there's no AC. If it's cold, there's no heat.
Mhm.
And I was like, the tours are also like long, which I guess, I don't know, is good if you're adults, but with a
Yeah,
2-year-old.
don't have a 2-year-old with you.
Yeah, hour and a half is like perfect time limit for him. It gave us all the experience of what it's like to off-road there. He took us up to some really cool viewpoints. You could see the national park from where we were. It was really cool. I definitely recommend it to someone. If you're visiting there, definitely to get your bearings. Like, that's the way to do it. It was very cool.
I mean, honestly, it's not that far from here either. I could be out and do a weekend up there, no problem.
Oh, it
Be
was
fun.
so cool.
I should do it.
I mean, I know you don't love heights. You got to kind of just let it go.
Yeah,
I know you'll be fine.
My weird thing with heights doesn't affect me as long as I'm on solid ground. Like I can walk up to the edge of a Grand Canyon and be fine
Yeah.
as
All
long
right.
as I'm on solid ground. So I'd be totally fine with the heights there.
And the other thing, like I was telling them, I'm like, yeah, this is like where I'm at, man. Like just kind of cruising, going slow, doing this. Like this is fun. Like I don't know. Side by side's too fast.
Side by sides are weird, and you said exactly what it is. Like I don't understand wanting to be in a vehicle, especially living in a desert area or an area that's northeast where it's cold that doesn't have any kind of climate control. And especially like where you're from, where you live in the northeast, you can't even drive them on the street, so you'd need to trailer them somewhere. So you need to be in your comfortable vehicle to go off-roading in your uncomfortable vehicle. Here, you can drive them on the street, which I guess is different, but it's also annoying because they're loud and they handle like trash on the pavement if they're still set up for off-road, and it just doesn't make any sense. Again, we went on a ride in one. You now know how I feel, where it's like, I don't want to like this, but I do like this, and it makes me angry. But I wouldn't want the ownership experience because for the money you can pay for one, you're going to be you can buy a almost brand new Jeep with air conditioning and heat, and a stereo and doors and windows and windshield wipers and cabin filters. And
then
maybe I'm a baby, but I like that experience better.
The other thing, we did this on a Monday morning at 8 a.m. It was dead out there. There was nobody. Like people started coming out around 9:30 when we were coming back. So it was awesome. There was just nobody out there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, it sounds really fun. I'm a little jealous, and I think that I'm going to have to try it because, like you said, $150 doesn't sound like a bad price to go out there and
it was
get some of these
super fun.
experiences. Yeah.
And it's an expensive town though, because it's definitely like a resort town. But I thought that was pretty reasonable. Because I was looking up other stuff. I'm like, well, maybe we take one of these tours that goes through Arches. And then I'm looking into it more. I'm like, wait a minute. The road in Arches, the reason why the national park, that's one of the most popular ones, especially after COVID, was because the entire park can be driven on a paved road with short hikes to where you want to look at the arches. So they actually have a timed entry system. You have to buy a ticket with a time slot to deal with congestion. So we were talking to the guide as well that was driving the Jeep. He's like, yeah, there's only one tour company that's doing those tours anymore. And they run like FJ80s, the big Land Cruisers.
Yes.
It's like $300 or $400 for them to drive you around the park for like 3 hours. And I was like, that does not seem worth it at all.
Right, you just do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Arches National Park, a lot of the tour companies that do anything there are native based.
No, wrong.
No?
You're thinking of Monument Valley.
Oh, that's right too. Yep. Sorry.
Monument Valley is owned by the Navajo Nation, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
So
they have a ton of rules in that.
That is totally
different than the other ones. All right, you're right. I did screw that up.
That
it's
is not
Valley, that is native owned.
United States land, actually, technically.
Okay. Yep, you're right.
We did go there first on the way. That was really cool. But we only stayed there for like a lunch break.
Yeah, well, it's if you don't go deep into that one, and it's a long drive to go deep into it. If you just stay on the like outside like viewing areas, it's definitely a shorter stop kind of place. Like we happened to time it with sunset when we were there, so we stayed for a while. But
well, you can drive right up to the visitor center, and then there's like a road you can just drive down after you pay to get in. But it's like a 3-hour dirt road. I was like, I don't feel like doing that right now.
And it also closes after sunset, so we got there like 40 minutes before the sun was supposed to go down, So like, nope, you can't drive down the road because it closes at sunset. We can't send you out there now because you won't be back in time. That's what happened to us there.
Yeah.
So cool spot anyway. Definitely worth looking at for sure.
Arches is open 24 hours a day
Okay. Interesting.
because you can do a lot of star photography there. So, because it's so dark. It's probably pretty cool. But yeah, that was interesting. That was like, I mean, we ended up spending like 3 hours in there anyways, but we're in our own car. But even that, like, we weren't really prepared to like hike a lot of where you need to hike. So I guess we'll have to go back.
Sure. Yeah. Well, when Marco's a little bit older too, it'll be easier to go in and do a short hike. You know,
Yeah.
hiking with a 2-year-old is not an ideal
No.
situation.
It's pretty. It's really pretty. And we were there around sunset, which is cool.
Yep.
And then
Yeah, sunrise and sunset are cool times to see those giant monuments.
on the way out, we drove through Colorado. And you're right, that part of I-70 is really cool through the canyon.
Isn't that amazing when you're running next to the train and the Colorado River?
Yeah.
It's just, it makes you feel like I'm in an old Western. Like, it's just a cool, really neat, like, windy part of the interstate. You know, everybody says, like, oh, it's I-70, it's boring. But no, that one section of I-70 is amazing.
That's the only good
And it goes up over the, 100%. It's, I wouldn't recommend taking I-70 if it wasn't for that part.
Like
But that part is amazing.
you take the route out of Moab and then it catches I-70 and you take a right and go east. And luckily the speed limit's 80 because there's nothing.
Right.
You get to the Colorado border. I think it's still like 80 for a while. And then you can definitely tell it starts to change. It gets more like foresty.
Yeah, you
And
get more
then-
green.
Yeah, so we went to Colorado for a little bit, and then we took a detour up in the north direction towards Rocky Mountain National Park because we bought the Parks Pass. We're like, well, we might as well get our money's worth.
You know, plus after like 3 park visits, it's already paid for.
Exactly.
So it's totally worth it. Yeah.
Excuse me. I didn't realize that park is also popular because it's basically a drive-through park. It has Route 34 Colorado goes through it. It is incredibly scenic. Like, it goes from the entrance of the park and it winds all the way up above tree to like 12,000 feet and then back down the other side of the Rockies and drops you down into, so if you go from the west entrance, it drops you down on the east side, which is in Estes, Colorado. So you actually come out and within a few miles you're by the Stanley Hotel, which is the Shining Hotel.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't seen that before.
So imagine a road that is like Mount Washington, but it's like 20, 25 miles long and goes double the elevation
I like it.
with the same sort of drop-offs,
Yeah, that sounds neat.
but it's paved in 2-lane.
And that's in the park.
It's in the park. And there's like tour buses going up it, which is kind of wild.
Oh, just like Mount Washington.
No, they don't send tour buses.
Oh, you mean like
Like
long, like Prevos,
yeah,
not
like
like-
a motor coach.
Econo-lines. Okay.
No.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to be on a motor coach going over a road like that.
No, it's kind of, I mean, I could feel the
Sketchy.
altitude sickness, but it was so weird because we're just standing there, one of the spots, I'm taking a picture, and this guy in a convertible Mustang pulls up, doesn't have a shirt on. I mean, it's like 40 degrees. He jumps out, is he doing push-ups? What is wrong with you?
At altitude, just to prove he could.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Weirdos. I
So
need
then
to
you
be
do that.
bodybuilding all the time.
Yeah, then you come down. You're still in the mountains. It's pretty. Then you start to get out to Denver, and then it's flat, and it's real boring.
At
For the
least in
rest of
Denver,
the
you
way.
can see the Rockies off in the distance.
Oh yeah, but once you get to Kansas, and then Illinois, Kansas, Missouri.
Missouri first, yeah.
Ugh. We did stop at the Arch. That was pretty cool.
So did you drive on the 40 near the arch?
I did on the way out.
So it's not the worst going home that way, but that is my least favorite stretch of road.
It's really confusing.
Cross country road trip. It's so confusing.
Like all of the
throwing-
highways converge right there. Like you're looking at the sign.
And then people are trying to dart like 8 lanes across to get to the one they have to go to. And it's super confusing. And you throw in a little bit of weather. We were there during like a rainstorm. And I thought for sure that was it. That was the end of our road trip. We were all going to be killed in the car right there. Like, I absolutely hate that part. That the arch, right where the arch is, all the highways, like you said, converge. And everybody's trying to look at the arch who's not from there. And they're not paying attention to the signs. And they're darting across lanes. And it's absolute disaster.
Well, it was funny because the way out, I didn't intend to go see the arch at all. I was trying to take the loop road around the city. And I took a wrong turn. And I ended up driving by the arch. Because it was so confusing.
Well, you wind up driving right by it on the 40. So if you stayed in the 40, you would have seen it.
Yes.
Definitely, because I see it all the time. Yeah.
But
you're not right up next to it, but you're within eyesight of it for sure.
I like literally drove under it.
Oh.
Like I took a wrong turn. Like there's a loop road to go around because you come down, you're on like 44, you want to pick up 40 or something like that. And there's like 70.
Well, that's the other thing. Not only is it confusing, but all the numbers are like 40, 44, 45. It's like, what's happening right now?
Yeah, and like 35, like all the interstates like converge there. It's weird.
Yeah, it's a very bizarre
Definitely
situation.
took a picture of the interstate sign. There's like 5 or 6 interstates on the sign. And
I mean, I've done it multiple times, and it's still confusing.
Well, even on the tour we took on the riverboat, they were talking about how they've moved Route 66 and I-40 multiple times across different bridges as they built them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But it was like, I was on like probably like the 644 or something trying to go around so I could pick up the 40. Ended up taking a wrong turn, ended up like in downtown, like right on the edge. I was like, what the hell? This is so crazy.
Yeah, it's a very confusing setup. I do not like it. I did that in the Volkswagen with the trailer, and I was like, ah.
Yeah. But
yeah,
anyway.
the eastern half of the country is pretty lame.
Yeah,
far as
there isn't much. I mean, what I have noticed is as soon as you start to get east of the Mississippi, and especially up in the Northeast, that is when left lane squatting becomes a thing, and it's super annoying.
Happens out here too. The middle of the country doesn't have it, but West Coast does and East Coast does.
Yeah.
The other issue that happens once you get it's basically once you hit Ohio, it becomes a speed trap central for the rest of the ride home. There's cops everywhere trying to bust you for speeding.
Yeah, it's super annoying. And like a lot of it, they're doing a lot of work on the interstates, and you're like, okay, this says this is a work zone, but there's clearly no more work going on, and the pavement is fresh and dry.
Yep.
And there's no more barrels here, but they clearly left the 55 mile an hour speed limit up here just to catch you out.
Yep.
Super annoying.
Yep. Yeah.
It's like you're in the middle of nowhere. You're like trying to keep good time.
Yeah. Once I hit Ohio, I get annoyed usually because I'm like, I just want to get back to Massachusetts, and it's another entire day of this 55, 65 mile an hour and speed traps and just jerk drivers. So I want to be done by then.
Oh, people for miles in the left lane. You're like, what are you doing? And then I use cruise control a lot, and I'm maintaining the same speed. So like I'm going by you, and then all of a sudden it's like they realize they've been passed. I'm gonna go real fast now, and they just like hammer.
You're not getting away with that.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. Very, very bizarre.
Same experience I have on every cross-country road trip. Cruise control set, pass the same car like 17 times. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I've been doing 70 miles an hour for 4.5 hours straight. How do I keep passing the same cars?
Yeah. So anyway, my voice is kind of going bad because I got a cold. What do you got going on for Project Cars? I'll let you talk for a little bit.
All right, Project Car update stuff. Well, fast rewind a little bit right there. You made it home. Everything's good. Check engine light's the only problem the car had, right?
Yeah, I got
Pretty
it.
much. Yeah.
I washed it. I can't wash it at home because
Well-
we don't have any water. But
We
There's an outside water ban.
Oh,
There's
because
no-
the drought. Yeah.
yeah, so I have a bunch of bugs in the front. I can't get off. I got to go to
Well,
the
we
car
have plenty
wash
of water
with a
here in the
pressure
desert for
washer.
you.
I know, it's so weird.
We just
I
actually
did-
had earlier today. Like, I'm surprised we haven't had the power cut out because the storms outside have been crazy. We actually had tornadoes 100 miles away. We had
Oh,
an
talking
inch and a
about the
half
weather.
of rain. It's inch and a half of rain in like 45 minutes down the street from here at Lake Pleasant, which is 20 minutes away. That's an insane amount of rain for Phoenix. It's been a crazy day out there. So, anyway,
Yeah, I got to get all the bugs off
Yeah.
the front still. I have to go to a car wash with a pressure washer.
Sure.
I just did the touchless today just to get most of it off. But the car needs a good detail. But other than that, it seems to be okay. Due for another oil change.
as I would consider that to be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, even an appointment Friday at the dealership to get done there.
I don't want it done there because they do not use Liquimoly or Motul.
That's true.
And they want you to do it every 10,000, which is not good.
Right.
Because
I
like
forgot.
the place that does it here down the street uses Liquimoly. And then it was cool. The place I found near your house, the Euro shop, they used Motul. I was like, perfect. That would be my other choice. If I couldn't use Liquimoly, I'd use Motul.
Right.
So anyway,
Project car updates.
Yep.
While you were here, we worked on a few things. Most recently, we worked on the 1981 Toyota Cressida, correct?
yeah,
That was
that's right.
the last thing we did. So we did most of the vacuum lines until we ran out of vacuum line.
Yep.
So hopefully, we're hoping that's going to be the issue. But we got almost all of it done. There's only a few vacuum lines left. I haven't touched it since you've been gone. Not due to being lazy or anything, just due to other things happening. I had to get the other Cressida prepped out for the Route 66 JDM Classic, which was this past weekend, which I'll get to eventually. Also, I've had issues with the Eclipse still, so there was that. I think I touched briefly on the fact that I own the Corolla now in the last episode. I don't remember if I did or not.
Yeah, I think so.
So the 1980 Corolla, I've been working on a bunch of things on that. So it's been a ton of stuff going on, but I think the one with the most progress would be the Eclipse. So last we left off, I was still having the issue where it was sputtering every now and again. So when the car has been running for, 20 or 30 minutes while driving, all of a sudden it will just sputter out of nowhere. And like the car will literally bang, like shake violently because it's sputtering. So it's either just not getting fuel or not getting spark for a certain amount of time. I don't know how it couldn't be because we replaced literally everything. So now I have to go into a little deeper and figure out more of what's happening. Step number 1, we hypothesized that maybe that ECU that I originally thought was bad was actually going bad because it had leaked caps all over the circuit board. So I got in touch with ECM Link. That's their name, right? I think it's ECM Link.
Yeah.
So I got in touch with ECM Link, and ECM Link was able to redo the board, clean the board up, put new caps on it, and send it back to me. Very good, very fast. I was very impressed, actually. Not super expensive, and highly recommended if you have an old Mitsubishi to send them your ECU for refreshening. However, I got the ECU back and was all excited to plug it in the car and try it out. So I did, and it's still doing the same thing.
Weird.
Yeah, it's quite annoying.
I don't know what that is then.
I don't know what it is. The car runs much better than it did originally. I mean, it runs, which is an improvement from a month or two ago.
The only thing I
But
think of
still
is
every-
try the brand new cam angle sensor you have.
I don't know. So here's my thought right now. In the process of diagnosing the car, I changed a couple other things.
Yeah.
I changed like the igniter and I changed the fuel pump relay. So I'm going to go back to the original igniter and see if maybe the new igniter is causing issues.
Yeah, you can try that. Go back to the way it was 0.
Yeah, and then
Zero.
if that doesn't fix it, go back to the original fuel pump relay and see if that's causing issues. Like, there's just none of it makes any sense to me anymore because everything in the car is new or replaced. So the car should be ideally running like stellar.
I feel
And
like
it's not.
I made sure that your injector clips were all tight. I feel like I looked at them.
I've checked it every time I'm in the car. I've actually taken them off and cleaned them and put them back in just to make sure there wasn't like some kind of corrosion that was occasionally, stopping something from happening.
Because I had one
I
come
took
loose on corners and it would make the car stall on
Sputter.
the Talon. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is just, it's funny because I always say the consistent time because when I drive the car to work in the morning, it seems to be the same general area every morning where it does it.
Don't drive through that area.
Yeah, well, sure.
It's interference.
It's great when I'm like crossing the 51.
Yeah, there's like 5G towers or something.
That must be it.
Yeah.
It has done other places too, so get that idea right out of your head, Andrew.
There's 5G towers
So-
there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This car was designed before 5G was a thing, so it doesn't know how to handle it.
Exactly.
I get it.
It's not
I get
EMP
it.
proof.
Magnets, man. How do they work? So anyway, I have to do some more digging into that. I'm a little bit frustrated, as you can probably hear in my voice with this car. I love the car. It's been a great car otherwise. It gets low 30s mile per gallon. It's fun enough to drive. It's been, other than this past couple of months, super reliable in the 23 or 4,000 miles I've driven it. So
It's annoying.
I can't sell it now because everybody that would want to buy it listens to this podcast and knows it doesn't run right. So we have that issue too. So I don't even know what would happen next.
It's extra annoying because it's OBD1 stuff and it's sensitive and doesn't set codes.
Yeah, you can't just read a code and be like, oh, it's this part. Like, you have to really dig deep.
Yeah,
and
or
try
at
to
least
figure out
like
what is happening.
it gives you an area to look at.
Yeah. It did set a check engine light off at one point, and we read it, and it was like, oh, your injector pulse isn't firing, right? That's
Yeah,
what it was.
for the cam angle sensor, it wasn't good. And we're
Right.
like, all right.
So we fixed it, and that was fine.
Yeah.
So when it does this now, this bucking and skipping, it doesn't set off a check engine light. So I
So
can't
weird.
even read
And then the
anything.
non-turbo cars don't even have
So-
knock sensors, come to find out. So
They do not, which is good probably because when it makes this thing, it wouldn't know what to do with itself. It'd probably shut off again. So
it's
yeah,
weird.
I don't. I'm a little frustrated with the whole scenario, but I have to make it run right because I can't do anything with the car until it runs right. Right? I can't trust it to drive it far away. I can't sell it. I can't do anything with it. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's very frustrating at this moment.
Well,
in
the
time.
good news is, the ECU is good because everybody's going to ask you that first.
Yep.
Because that's
Yeah,
like the
first
first
step,
thing
right.
that goes wrong with them. Is the ECU.
We know the ECU is good. We know
That's
the
why I
cam
pointed
sensor is
you that
new.
way.
Yeah. Hey, it is what it is. So we'll see what happens next, but I'm going to start by putting everything else back to zero that wasn't the initial problem.
Okay,
And
that's a good spot.
hope maybe the best because I don't know where else to go from there. After that, my only option would be like maybe take out the injectors and have them cleaned. Maybe there's something that doesn't seem like there would be, but I'll do a fuel filter. I'll do that and we'll go from there. But I'm slightly annoyed and very frustrated. But whatever. Or I'll buy a brand new OEM cam angle sensor and spend the $300 and hope it's the best. So I don't want to do that either. But at this point, it's like wit's end, right? So the bump teaser before the show says we'll start this podcast with Brad buying another car, doesn't it?
It does.
So we're not starting the podcast with that, but Brad bought another car.
Oh boy.
This one has an intention. So it is strictly a car to put back together and sell and make a couple of dollars, right? So I bought, and this is a first for me, Andrew. You have owned two. I have never owned one. I bought a Subaru. I didn't buy a fancy Subaru. I bought the base model, bottom of the line, 2011 Subaru Impreza hatch. Why do you say that, sir?
Yeah, why? They're like the worst ones.
It was really cheap.
Yeah.
Like like dumb cheap. It is a one owner car. It has some service records.
Okay.
And it had what was supposedly probably just a bad alternator. If you're not familiar with Subarus, the alternator in those cars is quite simply the easiest thing to do. It's right on the top, right in front of everything. And on the non-turbo cars, there's no like intake tubes or anything in the way. So it's a 15-minute alternator swap. Probably less if you've done them before. So we did an alternator in the car, right where it sat when we bought it.
Yep.
Started the car up and drove it home. Car runs great.
So why didn't this person just put an alternator in it?
This person has owned the car since 2011. They put an alternator in it like a year ago and were annoyed that it went bad. And when it died, they took it to their mechanic, and the mechanic said that it was something not the alternator. I don't remember what they were told, but they were told that it would be like $2,500 to fix it. So turns out it's just the alternator. Car runs great now. I am going to do a few more things to it, or Jordan and I together are going to do a few more things to it. It doesn't need, but could use brakes. They stop the car just fine, but when you're slowing down from like 60, they pulsate. So we're going to do pads and rotors in the front. And I'm trying to find a sun visor for the driver's side that's broken. But other than that, the car should just be detailed up, cleaned up, oil changed, and hopefully for sale in the next couple of days. So if you're listening to this podcast and you want an inexpensive all-wheel drive Subaru and you're in Phoenix where all-wheel drive is obviously necessary, there'll be one for sale. Hopefully it'll be gone by the time this episode goes live. But if not, then hit me up. It's pretty cheap. Just a black automatic 4-door hatch with a all-wheel drive. So only has 130,000 miles on it. So it's a pretty low mile car. So I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but this one here seems like it's working out pretty good. So it is a Subaru, so who knows, right? So that's a small project car detour, I guess we'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
Last but not least, no other major project car stuff, but I did pull the Cressida out of the garage for the first time in like 6 months. Haven't driven it all summer. AC is not functioning. I'm not sure why. I've never even looked at it. I probably should look at it. Because this past weekend was the Arizona Classic Car Club and Greg Childs, who we've spoken about on the show before. He actually is the one who his company made the exhaust on your G20. They run the Route 66 JDM Classic, which is a one-day event in a town called Williams, Arizona, which is, interesting fact, the last town to be bypassed on Route 66 by the 40. So it functioned as an actual pass-through town until October of 1984. That's when it was turned into, or bypassed officially by I-40. So being the last town on the entire Route 66 that was ever bypassed, it's never really changed because people go there as a destination, as like, oh, this is the old way of, Route 66. And it's very, for those of you who have children, it's very Radiator Springs. There's a lot of neon. There's like little theme motels. There's little restaurants. There's gift shops everywhere. And people will get off the 40 just to go into Williams to do a little bit on the 66 and have a little bit of that old Americana kind of town. Bring in the local tourist dollars and then get back on the 40 and continue across country. So it's a really cool little town. I highly recommend it if you're in the Arizona area. It's about 2.5 to 2:45 north of Phoenix, depending on what part of Phoenix you're coming out of. So it's not too terribly far away, and it's a really neat spot. There's a couple of good restaurants. There's, again, tons of little touristy shops and all kinds of neat little sightseeing stuff. And it's also just a pretty place to be. It's probably 30 degrees cooler up there than it is in Phoenix because it's at elevation, I think maybe 6,000 feet. So it's a 5,000 feet. That's pretty high, but it's a very cool spot to have a car show. Obviously, they do a hot rod show there too, I think, every year, but we do the Japanese show there in in early October every year. So very cool time, very cool spot, very cool event, and it benefits a charity, Raising Special Kids, which is a charity for helping families with special needs kids with, issues and needs they have in their lives. So it's a good charity and it's a good day. I'm not a trophy guy, but I did get second place, Best Toyota. So I had a little pat myself on the back for that one. I don't know how I did that, but I don't think I deserved it. There was a 1972 or 3 Corona that was there. That was like a spectacular brand new car. A brand new car. That probably should have taken the first place trophy, but it definitely should have taken the second place trophy. And the first place car was a guy I know with an A86 that is pretty hot rodded out, GTS car with the 4AGE, and it's got flares and long jumps and race seats, and it definitely has the eyeball appeal that a popular choice voting contest is certainly going to bring up, which is also probably why my car beat the Corona, because the Corona was gray and my car's bright blue. So I didn't deserve it. They both did, but I'll take it. How's that sound? Show was great, though. I highly recommend it next year. If anybody in the area who hasn't been there has to be there. It's a killer time. So yeah, car made it pretty much without a hitch. I did notice when I got home that I have an oil leak that I did not have before. So I'll have to do some digging into that to find out what that is. Because when I left, it was fine. Parked it at work, it was fine. The whole time up there, it was fine. I got back here, parked it in the driveway. And when I moved cars around later that day and put it in the garage, there was a big oil slick in the driveway where it was parked. So I'll have to figure out what was going on there because I'm not quite sure. It's quite annoying, but I'm sure it's something minor and probably has to do with the fact the car sat for 6 months and then I drove it. Hopefully, I guess. But that will be the last trip in that car with the current wheel and tire setup for 2 reasons. 1, I have some wheels to put on there. And 2, because the tires are junk. And that's kind of what I was waiting for to put wheels on it because I didn't want to take the wheels and tires off until I needed tires. But I think that this road trip definitely was the final time for the tires. They're not on the front. I won't say they're corded, but their inside edges are pretty bald. So that'll be the last long trip for them. So that's it. I haven't done a lot of seriously heavy project car updates, but I think that now that show's out of the way, I have some things to get ready for Radwood LA in November. And I'll have some updates on the Porsche for that. I do the front brakes. Did we talk about that car last podcast, Andrew? We did the timing?
I think we did the time belt after.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
We'll give a quick little synopsis of it. So the car made noise.
Yep.
It was a scary noise.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like it was coming from the front of the engine. At first, we thought maybe like some kind of valve noise. Then we thought some kind of pulley noise. And then we realized that if we put our hand on the edge of the timing cover, you could feel something slapping the timing cover. Which, the only thing moving inside a timing cover is a timing belt, right? Yep. So we pulled the cover off, and the belt was started the car, and you could watch the belt just flapping around and slapping that timing cover real bad.
Slap of the base.
Yeah, and not good when you're talking about timing belts. So I did some emergency digging and research. There's a couple different schools of thought. There's obviously the new school of thought, which is, well, you need to make sure you have this special tool that's got a dial indicator and it makes everything exactly perfect, and you can't do it without that. And then there's the old school thought, which is if you can twist the belt more than 45 degrees, it's too loose. Well, since we didn't have that special gauge and special tool, we decided that we'll try to twist the belt. And we twisted the belt, and it twisted about 180 degrees, if not a little beyond. So obviously that means that the belt is too loose, right? The Germans, in their, I don't know, smart engineering brains.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't do 180
timing belt
because that'd be completely a flip.
Yeah. 40. Yeah, so it would do, 180 is flipping on itself. 360 is a whole flip. If it did 180, it would lay on its back. That's 180.
I don't know if it did that much, but it was more than 45.
It's pretty far. Yeah, it was very far. Anyway, so supposedly after doing some reading, the car had a timing belt done probably 2,000 miles before I bought it, which is probably 2,000 miles ago. So somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 miles, the timing belt is that old, which is not that old. You would think the timing belt would be fine. But everything that we were reading says that after 1,500 miles, you might have to retension the belt. That seems kind of asinine, doesn't it? Like, as a car to be serviced by an owner, that seems like a lot.
Yeah.
But it turns out that after 1,500 miles, it should be checked for tightness again. I didn't know that, never did it. I got the car, it had already been driven more than 1,500 miles. I've driven it more than another 1,500 miles, so it just got loose.
I think it said 5,000 miles.
Was it 5,000 miles? I thought it was 1,500.
I was talking to
All
my
right,
dad
well, it's
about
5,000.
this, and he was saying old Volvos were like this too. You had to retension them.
Hmm.
But if
Well,
an
if
old
it's
Volvo
5,000
timing belt
miles-
broke, they would just spin over. So
Yeah, not this. That's what lunched the head.
no, it said 5,000 miles. I remember.
All right, so if it was 5,000 miles, it's still ridiculous, but it was somewhere in that. Maybe the car has 6,000 miles on it. You know what I mean? And I was unaware of that. So I think we avoided a catastrophe, Andrew, by checking that. Because if that had let go, then we'd be having a fire sale on 944 because
Yep. Sell it.
putting that back together. Yep, gone. So that would have been a huge loss monetarily, and I'd have been very upset. But I think we made a good save. We managed to do it without any super special tools. We had to get a 27 millimeter or 24 millimeter open end wrench.
Yeah, but then it didn't
Even
work
that
anyways. So I
Didn't
just
really
used my
work anyway.
hands.
So yeah, we just kind of forced it together. But you got to experience the midnight AutoZone special.
Dude,
which
that's
is
so
obviously
weird.
Something you're not used to out there.
It's so strange. It makes
The
sense.
late
but
night
it's
AutoZone.
strange.
Yep.
'Cause it's too hot to work in your car during the day, so everybody does it at night. So the parts stores are open till like midnight or later.
Yep. Some of them aren't, but a couple of them are, and those generally are pretty busy at that time of night because
Yeah.
they're the only ones open.
Well, you told me one pre-COVID was open 24 hours a day.
That one we went to used to be 24 hours. I have been there at 1 or 2 in the morning getting parts.
Weird. So
I think I
weird.
told a story of the podcast, I don't know, maybe a year ago, where I helped a friend of a friend do axles on a cross-country road trip.
Yeah.
He happened to break in Phoenix. And we got the 2 axles for his 98 Volkswagen in stock at 1:30 in the morning at AutoZone
Bizarre.
down the street. Yeah. Wild stuff, right?
Yeah, and then the guy
It's
was
kind of
telling
neat
us
because
when we were
Go ahead.
buying the stuff that somebody threw a soda at the window.
they were
'Cause-
cleaning the front windows because they hadn't had their parts in stock, maybe.
No, the guy told him the jumper cables didn't work.
Oh, that's what he sold him faulty jumper cables, he said. So he threw a soda at the front window, which I guess is the kind of stuff you have to deal with at,
Yeah.
midnight at a parts store. Not always the best of customers coming in.
Not that maybe the other car's battery was dead as well. I don't know.
Or he didn't hook it up right.
Yeah.
Who knows? Or hooked it to somewhere else in the car and didn't even have a second car. Who knows? That neighborhood's not the best, so could have been some drug influenced decision making made on that guy's part. But yeah, so that's the quick synopsis of the project car stuff I've been doing. Not a lot of heavy stuff has been done. There'll be no more stories about the Honda. That car's gone. That was part of the deal with to get that Corolla. It was included in a trade plus cash for the Corolla. So that car is gone. No more Civic stories, Andrew. I know you're very disappointed to hear that. But
Oh,
we're
shedding a tear.
we were down one project, or I guess, as we said before, Project Stasis, because the Corolla came along as part of that deal. But
No,
I
you're
think it's
up.
better move.
You're up one now because you bought the Subaru. You were doing fine. You were getting rid of stuff, and then you bought another one.
Yeah, but this is just a quick in and out.
Okay.
This car won't stay around. And honestly, the reason this car even exists in my life is because it's not a car that I'm going to fall in love with. I just want it done and gone. I don't care. It's not like a 1980 Corolla or something interesting. It's a 2011 Subaru Impreza base of the base, black over tan. So we're done recording this tonight. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to buff the crap out of it. Then hopefully tomorrow we'll throw some brakes in it and get it listed online for sale. So no love affair here. This car's gone. So
All right.
it'll be a good car for somebody that needs a car for like their high school kid or
Okay.
just a simple commuter.
Nobody that listens to this podcast.
Some of our listeners have high school kids. They're not high school kids themselves, but they have high school kids. Anyway, that's where we're at.
It is where we're at. Yeah. So anyway, we'll be posting more regularly. And yeah, we're going to have some more content, and we've been talking about stuff. It's just going to happen. We're going to start doing more stuff. So we appreciate.
Yeah, we're
everybody that's been
both
listening.
ready to take this seriously and get a little more stuff going here.
We appreciate everybody in the Discord because it's pretty fun.
Yep.
And I did a new intro you heard on the last episode, and I changed it again for this one. And I think this is the one we're going to stick with. So just kind of change it up, keep it fresh.
Unless you want to complain, then issue all complaints to the Discord. That's why it got changed this time, because the complaints came from Discord. So
Yeah. But I think it's better. And I'm not doing it again, so I'm going to stick with it this time because I like it. And I don't
never
really
mind,
care.
don't complain at all. I lied.
It's my podcast.
So you can see I'll be
I'll
at
do what I want.
events I'll be at coming up. I'll be at Radwood in November, which is I think the 19th, weekend of the 19th. I'll have to double check that. And another week in November, I'll actually be attending SEMA this year through work, but I'll be trying to get some content for this show as well.
Cool. Yeah, I want to see Fender Flare Nationals.
There will be plenty of Fender Flares taking pictures of. Hopefully
Well,
meet some cool people and maybe get some cool guests for the show.
I'll be at, and I think a lot of our New England listeners will be at, is the Japanese Car Day at Lars Anderson. That is October 16th. So hopefully the weather is nice because I know like at least 4 or 5 of us are planning on going. So I'm trying to get my radiator in the Galant so I can bring that. I'd like to do it before. If not, I'll just drive the G20. Or let's see. Let's see if my dad wants to go too. Might bring multiple cars. Might have Stephanie drive a car. So see what we're
fancy.
bringing. Yeah.
Make up for all the missed events this summer with one event with everything.
Yep.
I like it.
But all right. Anything else?
Excellent. No, I think I am solid, sir.
All right. So follow us on. Go find us, and we'll give you a link to the Discord. Follow us on Instagram, Auto Off Topic Podcast. Sorry, it's Auto Off Topic on Instagram. It's Auto Off Topic Podcast on Facebook. Not as busy there. More on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram, Race and Anger. Follow our Scale Autocast on Instagram. I actually posted a couple pics there the other day.
I saw the Alpha. It's very nice.
Yeah, the Alpha is really cool, but we won't talk about that here. You can
Or
follow.
anywhere.
We have autoofftopic.com. More stuff coming to that. Brad, where can they find you?
They can find me as always at wait, nope, that's yours. What's mine? TSI SS350.
That's right.
And they can also, if they haven't got enough of my voice here, I also do a weekly podcast at work now, which I will plug because I do it, and that's tough. Andrew, you're gonna have to listen to me plug
Okay,
it.
fair, fine.
It's called Drive the Bid, and it is a podcast with another couple of folk from my office. One of which you'll recognize is a previous guest here. He goes on the internet by Jalopy Jeff. So him and I and our other friend Derek, who goes on the internet by There Will Be Cars, are doing a weekly podcast over there. We just got back onto that one after some shakeups around the office with a buyout and a office move and all kinds of stuff. But that's now back on track and being released weekly. So more of the same bad automotive opinions from me over there.
All right. So, as always, keep cars analog and aim at the roses.